Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. While summer isn't even here yet, it won't be long before the Orleans County Fair will be here. Yes, the Orleans County Fair, which means the end of summer. Today's guest is Jason Seacard, one of the board of directors of the fair. Welcome to the show.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Well, that's really true. You know, when you think of Barton Fair, or the Orleans County Fair, you think of, oh no, it's the end of summer.
That's right. Everybody has that same feeling. When we bring around the brochures or different things to promote the fair, a lot of people say that, oh no, it's the end of summer. They get that one down point, but they enjoy coming to the fair.
But you know, I think this year, if spring, or at least if summer doesn't get here pretty soon, because you know we've been rained on a lot, and if Barton Fair gets here too quick, we're not going to be happy because we want some summer.
That's right.
But as for the Orleans County Fair / Barton Fair, I think most of us who grew up in Orleans County, we attended there. Did you grow up going to the fair?
Yes, I did. Yep. And that's why I wanted to get involved and help volunteer to continue that program.
This year's a special year, though. 150 years.
That's correct.
I was around on the 100th. I just don't remember it because I was like 2 years old, and I think you were like minus 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, -2. Yeah.
But 150 years. Are you doing anything special?
We are. We've got some things in the works. We have a 150 committee that's working on some things with local historical clubs, societies, and the Old Stone House. And we're putting some things together to try to bring back a twinkle towards the older times.
Right. Yeah, I know you folks have had me going through my collection of photos, and I'm finding it's amazing with 150 years behind us, trying to find photos of the fair is amazing. Well, here's one photo, and that's an early photo. Look at all those cars.
Yeah, it's great to see it packed. It was really a center of the community,
right?
And we enjoy still being that center. But it's really amazing to see those things. There's not a lot of people to talk to that can reminisce about those times.
Right. You know that it is interesting. I've interviewed people who are no longer with us, like Roy Ingalls. He's long gone, and he talked about going there in horse and buggies, but then he talked about things like his father, who was a big burly man. He took part in fights at they had come one, come all, and if you won, if you went up against the champion, you'd walk away with a stash of money. So you probably hear a lot of stories over the years, don't you?
We have heard a few different stories. I guess nothing at the moment comes to mind that's as kind of interesting as that was as a wrestling thing. Maybe the horse. There was a horse. I can't remember the name of the horse, but there was a horse that they used to jump into a pond.
Yeah.
And that was an event, I think, for a couple of years until there was an accident, which was unfortunate, but it was something different that happened there.
Right.
And there was another gentleman talked to me about in the 20s they had an airplane landed at the fairgrounds.
Right.
And so that was
that was the early, and then I know you've had hot air balloons in the early days. They would have these hot air balloons back in the 1800s. I believe it was an amazing thing. So I even remember things that probably wouldn't be politically correct today. I remember you even had freak shows, that would come through the area, and things that maybe wasn't very nice for people with deformities in that now, but things have sure changed.
Right. That makes it like the things that like you'd see with a circus or something like that. Travelers that I don't know. It's different, and yeah, we don't do that nowadays. It
was just the time.
Yeah, it was the time. That's right. Things always have changed, but we're lucky. One thing that we do have that continues is a Remax for the past 3 to 5 years. Has always bought a hot air balloon for us, and that's something that ties back to the beginnings.
The other thing though that you can't lose focus of, it's also an agricultural fair, and back when up until say 30, 40 years ago, the people who lived here, most people had some connection to the working landscape. That's no longer the case. So sometimes the people's exposure to farming, all they get is at the fair.
That's true. That's true. We see people come in with their kids that they haven't seen animals, or they want to introduce their children to animals, and that's neat to see the kids really shine up and get a chance to see the lamb or the cows or the horses. Last year, from what I recall, the cattle barns were full. We were at capacity for cows, so that's good to see that continues. Horses not quite as many, but the horse pull and pony pull still draw in a lot of trailers. A lot of loads of horses come in from all over New England to partake at the fair.
And as the evolution of agriculture takes place here, I know you've had different animals appear that, probably 150 years ago, most people in this area didn't know anything about llamas or alpacas, and they're starting to show up at your fair.
That's correct. The little more diversity, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Has the camels been out there yet? The Coventry Falls camels.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, out at Coventry Falls in Coventry, they have Jesse and Tojo, the camels that the Cobb family raises. Actually, the Cobbs have had their alpacas there before, but they have Jesse and Tojo, and Jesse actually arrived here via Shipping Wars, which is a reality TV show. So they have these monstrous cracker-loving, two-humped camels.
Yeah.
And they when they walk them like dogs, and they almost act like when they see their crackers, their saltine crackers come out, they start hopping all over. But they bring those around, I believe.
Well, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll reach out to them to see if they want to join us this year. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So then, do you still have I still remember your cavalcade where the kids walk you still have that?
They haven't been doing it in the past few years, but the discussion was with the 150 committee was to do that again this year, to bring that back, so that it goes along with one of the traditions of the fair.
Right. You'll guess what I'm talking about. The one thing, when I ask people whether they're in their 40s or their 90s, and if they're a guy, you cannot mention the fair without them bringing up a piece of history that's gone, and usually it's with a chuckle. What am I talking about?
Yes, well, that would be the girly shows.
The girly shows.
That's right. And you notice that across the state. I mean, in my travels around the state, if you say you have some involvement with a fair, that's usually what sparks.
But I understand that that the Orleans County Fair was one of the last holdouts about getting rid of those, and it was, in hindsight, now looking back, that's kind of really strange they stayed there that long.
Yes. I was in the Vermont Historical Society building in Montpelier, and they actually had a display of that particular part of the fair of the different fairs across the state. So they had different pictures of the tents and the girls of that time. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, but once again, that was just that was a different chapter of the fair's history.
That's correct.
Right. But you did say you're going to have what, burlesque night?
That's right. So on Thursday this year of the fair, August 17th, we'll have a burlesque show, which I believe will be at 6 and 9 p.m.
Right.
And that is it's a similar thing. It's a group out of the Burlington area that will be putting that on. They do shows across the state now, and this year we're going to have the fortune of them showing at our fair.
I bet you they're a little classier than those other tent shows, because I remember I worked for the Chronicle and went over in that section and thinking, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, this isn't a behind the curtain type of show. This is something that is for the adults to enjoy.
Right. Okay, here's another photo, and this is also what makes the fair special, is your races.
That's right.
Yeah, your horse races. Now, do many other fairs in Vermont still have horse races?
I think we're down to maybe one other fair. I think Tunbridge may still be doing it. I'm not sure if Rutland is as well, but it is a bit of a declining sport. There's not a lot of people that took that sport up and have continued doing that, so it's getting a little bit slower. I went to Canada last year to a couple fairs, and they actually they're still pretty strong with the sulky racing there.
And here's another photo of the horse races.
Yeah.
There's been some debate on who this fella is. I've put it on Facebook, and there seems to be there's couple people. There's people who think they know who it is. I can't say right offhand.
Yeah, I don't have any idea who it would be.
Right.
I know that I remember as a kid, I don't know, if maybe in 10 years old, going to the fair, and there was a lot of community members there. My grandfather would be there. Most of the firemen were there, and they were all there watching the races and doing their side betting to see who they figured would be the winner of that race.
Well, you mentioned something about just everybody's there. Well, that's true. Especially growing up, it was where you went to see people you never saw throughout the year. And you know another thing fairs are good for, and I mean this good innocent fun, is great people watching. You can sit back, and I'm sure, here's the truth is, people are watching us too, looking like, huh? But it's a great time to go and chat with people, run into people and just kind of watch life go by.
Yes. No, that's when I first got out of high school, that was the thing. You would 2 years later, 3 years later, that's where you'd go, and you'd run into people. The social networking wasn't there, and you would meet at the fair. That's how you catch up
I
over
recall
time.
right from my younger days. If I recall right to when I was single, which is 30-something years ago, I also remember it was a time to go see if you can scope out members of the opposite sex when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And you didn't really notice what was going on around you except for that. But,
yeah, it was your big playground. You were in a contained area to yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah, I know. But the other thing a lot of people chuckle about, it's the same way as people love to sneak into the Derby Port Drive-In. People loved this. They love to talk about sneaking into the fair, and they'll even tell you it wasn't about money. It was just about fun. And they'll talk about getting in trunks of vehicles. And I had one person tell me, there was down near the barn, there was a dip where they could slide right under, and some of the farmers decided to take it on themselves to line it full of manure, and they got so come nightfall they were slipping underneath, and little did they know.
Yeah, they probably weren't going to be chasing too many girls when they got through.
No, but you've probably heard those stories too, just people chuckling about.
Yes, yeah, there was one fellow that told me that he snuck into the fair, and the fair president at the time, I think it was Mr. Conley, and had caught up with him, and so he worked with him, and he volunteered the rest of the week to work the fair. So that was.
On the kind of the disappointing side of fairs is you've had to struggle. The change in times. Fairs around the country, community fairs, have had to struggle because there's so much else going on in the world. Like, I think community fairs were so important because, even back when we were growing up, there was less to do. And so that was the meeting place. But now isn't it more difficult to attract people? It
is. I mean, the fabric of the fair, all the small home community farms, that was their hub, and now it's people do the times, the computers, everything. Everybody's so much more active,
right?
And but we're fortunate. We still have a good showing of people come, but it's a lot of work. There's like 28 buildings there, and a lot of them date back to 150 years old. So it takes a lot of management to keep that flowing.
Because I like to, I don't partake in the games or anything, and but I love to go. Like, when you walk up through and you have the carnival barkers, it's just, even though I find it in the real world, I would find it really annoying. But when you're walking up that strip, you might as well just be back 100 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. Throw a dart at a balloon and.
Yeah, but I was telling people, fair food. I'm a health food eater. I eat a lot of, but I love fair food. But here's the secret of aging is I used to love those candied apples or those caramel apple. If I bit into a candied apple today, I suspect half of my teeth or crowns would be left in that. So I just reminisce about those candied apples, and I stay away from them because I just know that candied apple would cost me $5,000 in dental work.
Yeah, they were very sticky. Yeah.
So what's your favorite carnival food or fair food?
Fair food. I think fried dough, and now I like the bloomin' onion. I mean, that's another, probably their neck and neck.
That's it. Is actually, if I had to go one or the other, I'd have to say bloomin' onion, because in the bloomin' onion, I couldn't eat it every day, but because the fair only comes around once a year, and I know it's not the healthiest for you because it's in grease, but one time a year is okay to suck that grease into your veins, and it's good.
Yes, it is good.
Also, they have some good. I know that there's some good sausages that they have there, and I've noticed there's even been an attempt for some people to try to serve healthier food at the same time.
Yes, there is. We've had a mobile unit that was supported farm to plate.
Right.
That was on the grounds for a couple of years. I think they were there last year, and that's it's good food. It gives people more options.
Yeah, but as I said, I eat healthy food, but there's nothing like going to the fair and eating bad. Then your other big event, it brings hordes of people, is the Demolition Derby. When did that begin? Do you know?
I believe, from what I've heard, it began in the 70s.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure if it was a 72 or 74, 75, somewhere in that
Have
range.
you ever done that yourself?
I actually never competed myself. I never competed. I always went and watched a demo, hung out around the fire truck, and
my brother's taken part, and then now he's retired, and he has two sons who now take part, and so I guess it's a generational thing. I bet you even have at least 4 generation demolition derby drive, probably 3 generation demolition derby drivers.
I agree. I think we do. We have a lot of people that do it year after year, and I see their families get into it, and then their kids are doing it, and I think that's what helps with our draw. I mean, you have a lot of cousins, aunts, and uncles that all come to watch their relatives compete.
Yeah. kind of like going up to Walmart and watching uh, watching watching people back around up there. No, you know, one thing I will tell you, I have, maybe it's because I don't have a farm background, is one thing I never totally understood and never really interested me. Well, other people love it, is the horse and tractor pulls. Maybe it's just because I have no, I have no concept of, those sports, and but other people love that stuff.
Yeah, so the horse pull is a really great draw.
Yeah.
The bleachers are usually always full during the fair for the horse pull, and the tractor pull is there's a lot of people that do that. They get into buying the antique tractors and working those motors to what they can to see if they can beat their neighbor down the road.
I know there's even people who soup up riding lawnmowers. And, I say, hey, whatever floats your boat. But, when I was a kid, one thing that sticks out is I seem to recall the Joey Chitwood show. And they had hell drivers and everything. So some things stick out in my mind. And I remember the bingo tent, because that's where my grandmother hung out. And
Yeah. St. Paul's still works the bingo tent at the fairgrounds, and when you talk about Joey Chitwood, I remember seeing that show there a couple times. And last year we had Johnny Wisner competition, which is a very similar. And some of those guys I think were part of Joey Chitwood's thing. There was a gentleman that was there. I don't recall his name, but he was one of the stunt drivers. He drove a Dodge Dakota pickup at the fair last year. He got it up on two wheels, and he made a full loop around the whole track on two wheels.
Huh.
And the gentleman was 80 years old. So
Really?
he'd been doing that type of work for over 50 years, from what he told us.
talk about cars. Was the world record-setting Cadillac parade, was that part of the fair, or how did that work?
So it was an event that was held at the fair during the week of the fair, I think on Wednesday. Lori Seedell worked to administer that, and she put a lot of effort into getting that to come together, writing to Cadillac and to different Detroit news magazines to get that to come around, and it was a really cool event. It drew people from all over the country, and I think we did get some cars out of Canada, and it was kind of neat to go from Lake Region to the fairgrounds and see everybody out with their chairs and their barbecue grill. It was like it was the 4th of July. I mean, it was a well-attended event.
And for the people listening, the reason it was a Cadillac parade was because the founder of Cadillac and Lincoln, Henry Leland, was from Barton.
That's correct.
And
That's correct.
So that's how that. So that was considered part of the fair.
Yes, the event
Okay.
was held at the fair, and the record keeper for Guinness was on the fairgrounds counting cars,
Right.
and acknowledged that we were the largest parade in the world.
Right. And if I recall right, because I was there, and I had Lori on my show a couple times on my radio show. If I recall right, the cars, there was a criteria. Your example is it wasn't the longest. It had to be the most cars, and they had to be a certain. I think they even had to be a certain distance apart, and I think
it had to be it had to be at least a 2-mile parade, which is what going from Lake Region High School to
Right.
the fairgrounds.
And it had to be the cars. You couldn't just spread out the cars any distance. There was a lot more. There was a lot more to it to make sure, because these Guinness people who I met and interviewed, they had a job to do.
Yes.
And so do you still hold that record, or does the?
As far as the last I knew, we do
Right.
still hold that record, and we have talked about bringing back an event similar to that. we're not quite there yet to
What, a different
promote
a
it.
different idea for?
Well, we're not ready. We're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
We want to promote it, but we're gonna
Right.
wait just a little bit more.
Okay, we only have about 5 more minutes left. What can visitors to the fair plan for this year? For the 150th
The
year?
150th year. Yes. So we're working on bringing some antique farm equipment to the fair to view. We've got a lot of photos that people are working on to show some of the different things like you just did on the TV here.
Right.
And we've also have a discussion about establishing the blacksmith shop to bring that back so that people can come and see how people did the shoes and different pieces of steel that needed on the farm. And we also are working to see if we can do anything with the Civil War
Right.
people for a reenactment or something of that nature.
And if I recall right, you were telling me before you actually have a new Midway group coming.
That's right. This year we've reached out through a lot of effort over the last few years and have a company called Kavanaugh Amusements. They're going to come and join us this year for the fair. And with the change of Carnival, we are changing our gate admission. This year we're going to be Wednesday through Friday at a $10 fare, and Saturday and Sunday will be $12. And if you want to ride the rides, that'll be a $15 ride bracelet.
And 15 and right. So is that 15 on top of the 10?
Yeah, so it is, but we're going to provide kids that are 10 and under are going to enter the fairgrounds for free.
Right.
So we're trying to help offset set that cost.
Because to be realistic, I know over the years there's, I know you've, the fair organization has tried to figure out a way to keep it. You have to stay financially solvent, but you also want to make it so people can come, because we're not the richest part. And there is that balancing act. And I know you've played with different things over the years.
Right, and that's the reason that we worked on this program. Is we think that if we can provide the entrance to the fair for the kids that are 10 years and younger to come in for free, that will help with that. And it takes the curse off from the other people that aren't going to ride the rides to not have to carry that cost,
Right.
which is the way we spread it out before. So we're hopeful that helps people to attend the fair, more than once, 2 or 3 times maybe during the week.
Now that you have, I know for a period of time, and I don't know if Floral Hall has struggled a bit, because I think the change in times, but I think now that more people are getting their hands dirty in the soil and really getting back to, doing some things the old-fashioned way, like, are you finding that more people are showing their vegetables and fruit and other thing, or is that still an area of struggle?
It's a little bit lighter than we'd like. We have been working on reaching out to more vendors, and it has been growing. It's been growing about 6 or 8 a year. Last year we provided it was a comedy or a ventriloquist show. We put an act in Floral Hall
Right.
to help drive some traffic to those
Right.
vendors that were showing their items. The fair's always working hard to make each event successful, and we're a group of a lot of volunteers, and we're always open to anyone that's interested in helping support the fair and want to become a volunteer for the fair. They just need to reach out to us and make that communication, and we'd be
Now,
glad to add.
So how can they reach out to you?
So we have a website. It's orleanscountyfair.net, and we also have an email address, ocfprez@gmail.com, and those are a couple ways to reach out. And I think our phone number is 525-3555.
Right. Okay, here's the big question. What's the weather forecast for this year's fair?
I'm going to predict that You won't need a sweatshirt until about 7:30, quarter of 8 each night, and the sun will shine each day of the fair.
Okay, when is the fair again?
The fair is August 16th through the 20th.
Right. Yep. Because you got to admit, all seriousness, the weather can make or break you guys. Because you try to have the show go on in a torrential downpour, but it hurts, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we are weather based, just like the farmer is for taking their crops in. I mean, Mother Nature is hopefully on our side, like it has been in the past couple of years.
Okay, final words.
What was that saying? Orleans County Fair. Go to the Orleans County Fair. Do the sensible thing. Go.
Yeah, that is from an old poster that I had a friend give me, and that was that simple. It was just saying, do the sensible thing and go to the Orleans County Fair.
Yes, come and join us for the 150th anniversary. We'd appreciate your support, and we can't wait to see you.
Thank you for coming on.
All right, thank you, Scott.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.